starvation wage. Single moms are skipping meals as they try to make rent and buy groceries for their family. These moms get paid $7.25 an hour, often work 2 jobs, and go to bed every night, worried that the next morning is going to bring financial calamity. Senators, is this okay in a country as rich and strong as ours? Here in the United States Senate, nobody's got to worry where their next meal is coming from, but that's an everyday struggle for too many families across the land. Senators, let us think about those who are hurting as the vote on the Sanders minimum wage amendment approaches. It is time for that single mom to get a fair wage for a fair day's work. A living wage, not a starvation wage. There has never been a stronger case for a $15 minimum wage than there is right now during the pandemic. I think about grocery store and pharmacy workers, home health aides, food processing and packing workers, restaurant employees interacting with maskless customers. So many workers in Oregon and across the country are going to work in a dangerous environment each day. Many of them are Black and Latino workers, people from the communities that have suffered the most from COVID-19. They've kept our country going through the last year. I've heard a whole lot of members of the Senate, Democratic and Republican, talk about those workers as heroes of the pandemic. So the question is, will the Senate stand up and give those heroes of the pandemic the raise they deserve, the raise they've waited for 12 years? There are 30 million Americans who earn less than $15 an hour. It would be closer to 40 million if not for the fact that the coronavirus put so many Americans out of work. That is just immoral and unacceptable. Now, if you want to see inequality baked into the law, just look at how the country treats its lowest income workers compared to those at the top. The minimum wage has been stuck for 12 long years, and a flat minimum is nothing but a slow-moving pay cut for those who make the least. A minimum wage worker cannot afford the average rent in any state in America, not one that doesn't account for utilities and food and gas and car payments and medical bills, school supplies. Here's the fact. Living is expensive for the poor in America. Meanwhile, the most well-to-do keep winning with their investments in the stock market. The entire tax code is rigged to favor the income of billionaires over the income of wage-earning families. Republicans passed a $2 trillion Trump tax law promising trickle-down benefits. Been talking about that for decades, even though those magical benefits never actually trickled down. The Trump administration actually made it A-OK in the eyes of the law for corporations to steal from their employees' tipped wages. A country that aspires to be pro-work should not be this anti-worker. Members of the Senate might forget it now, but the minimum wage used to go up all the time. Happened 22 times since the minimum wage was enacted in 1938. Through the 50s, 60s, and into the 70s, the post-war period that many look at the boom years of the 20th century, the minimum wage went up all the time, and Congress expanded the range of workers it covered. Now, colleagues, these increases did not lead to the end of Western civilization back then, and raising the minimum wage isn't going to do it today either. That's because, and folks might want to sit down when I say this, it's good for everybody when there are fewer poor people in America. This is the longest the Congress has gone without raising the minimum wage since its origin. In recent years, the grassroots movement has picked up the slack and made a lot of progress in cities and states all over the country, including my home state of Oregon. But the Congress cannot wait any longer. The powerful can pull the levers around here in a hurry, and they get more than their share of benefits and attention. Right now, the Congress has a chance to actually prove that it's looking after working people, and that means raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Every single senator says they want to incentivize hard work. And folks, A living wage does just that. The single mom skipping meals to feed her kids deserves better. The Senate can do better starting today. I appreciate my colleague Senator Sanders leading the effort to raise the wage for years and years. As the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, I am all in with Senator Sanders on this fight. Senators, support our amendment. Give tens of millions of America's hardworking people a raise. And before I yield the floor, I just briefly want to provide an update with respect to the issue of trying to make sure that folks who have been laid off from their job through no fault of their own are going to be able to get an unemployment benefit where they can make rent and pay groceries. We're having conversations now, bringing people together, I believe, around two core principles. One is avoiding a cliff in August where you would have something like 11 million people lose their benefits. We've got to do that. It defies common sense to have a cliff in the middle of August when you've got the Senate out of session. And second, we're making a lot of progress on preventing an unemployment tax surprise. This is a matter Senator Sanders and I have spoken about at length for weeks. A number of colleagues on both sides of the aisle have a great interest in this. I think we've made a lot of headway. We'll have more to discuss with the Senate, but I'm really hopeful that this can bring all sides of this debate together. I have personally felt the benefit should be $400. It should certainly run into September, but I know some of my colleagues feel otherwise. So what we're looking at is making sure that we can get a benefit so that people can make rent and pay groceries, that we prevent that cliff. And by God, we sure as hell shouldn't let folks who are unemployed pay taxes on those unemployment benefits that they secured in 2020. Senator Sanders and I will continue to prosecute this question of tax forgiveness very strongly as well. I appreciate his leadership. I see Senator Murray, the chair of another important committee with jurisdiction over this matter. And, Mr. President, I yield the floor.